Did the enjoyment lessen when you start to monetize your passion?
It's a different kind of enjoyment. I think there's something about just being in this like raw, pure sense of, I'm just gonna go make this video and kind of like, we've done ads a little bit on our higher ticket side of things. And I think that's really where a lot of the value is. Because if you're trying to sell a product that's, let's say $3, you don't have a lot of room for profit margin if you're, at all, if you're spending any money on ads, right?
He turned a childhood love for swimming into a global brand with nearly 1 million subscribers on YouTube and over 500 million views. Today's guest is the founder of MySwimPro and one of the most recognizable educators in the swimming space. In today's episode, we unpack how Faris built one of the biggest niche YouTube channels on the planet and the content system behind 500 million in views, the long-term mindset that carried him from burnout in the pool to becoming the most trusted voice in swimming, and the business model behind his books, MySwimPro app, mid-ticket coaching, and his in-person luxury swim retreats. So if you want to understand how to build authority, scale a niche audience globally, and turn a passion into a world-class business, this is the episode for you. So Faris, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
You are from Syria, right? So we're filming this in Dubai. Lived and kind of grew up in the US, and now you're back
born and raised in the United States, and my parents are from Syria. So they moved to the United States, and then now I've been spending a lot of time back in the Middle East, and here we are.
Okay. Can you walk me through that kind of reverse journey? Like, why did you go back from the US to the kind of Middle East area?
Yeah, well, so my parents were seeking opportunity, and my dad did his PhD in the United States, and very scientific. He was doing research in chemistry, and then he went back to Syria, married my mom. Then the rest is history in the United States, and that's where I was born and raised. And I think for myself, I'm looking for the next chapter. I'm looking for growth, for opportunity. And Dubai certainly has that. I mean, you get to meet people from all over the world who are building. That's how we met. And I've met so many amazing people in the last few years. And I think you can certainly find that in a lot of different cities. But for me, it just feels right. And you know how like when you go somewhere, it just kind of like feels good.
So when did your parents move to the US?
Oh, like 40 years ago.
Okay.
It was a while ago. So, I'm in my 30s and I have an older brother. He was born in the US. And so they've spent now more time in the United States than Syria. But I think for me, it was interesting having this dual upbringing where I had obviously I'm in America, but my parents are speaking half Arabic, half English, and I have this Middle Eastern culture. So from a cultural, religious, so I was definitely different in those ways. But I still always felt accepted in my community. I never really felt like I was alienated too much. I knew we were different, but I still felt that it was a pretty welcoming environment in the US.
Okay, but 40 years ago, your parents were kind of moving from the Middle East to the US for opportunity. 40 years later, you're kind of going back the other way for opportunity.
Yeah.
Do you think the US is still the land of opportunity, or do you think that has shifted to places like Dubai?
I think the United States is certainly a land of opportunity. It's still one of the greatest countries in the world to start a business, to be ambitious, to be entrepreneurial. I think the difference is now there's more competition for that. I think it was a clear, 30 years ago maybe, it was a clear use case to go to the United States and you can find opportunity there. I think other areas like Dubai or Singapore or Hong Kong were not the same as they are today. And in 30 years, who knows where the future will be.
Okay. And obviously you work online, right? So do you think it matters as much where you're based, or could you be anywhere?
I could theoretically work anywhere in the world. I always tell people when they ask me where I live, I tell them I have two requirements. I need water and Wi-Fi. And if I have these two satisfied, then we're in business. So Dubai obviously has both of those things. But I do think if you're an entrepreneur, you want to be in an environment that is productive for you. Yep. So for me, I can do that with water and Wi-Fi. For other people, they may need physical resources. They may need things beyond the natural resource of water that I need. So I create a lot of content as well. So that's why the geography and the location and the backdrops and the weather actually matter for me. But I think having sunlight, having proximity to maybe talent, even though I work online, but being able to work in a certain time zone or being able to hire people, I think those are all considerations if you're building a business.
Okay. Talking of water, how did you get started in swimming? Like, what was the backstory as a kid?
I've always loved the water. I think it's something that most people, if they're comfortable with the water, they enjoy that experience, right? So I always meet people and they have two reactions when they find out that I work in the swimming world. It's either, oh, swimming, like that's so cool. I love being in the water. You know, my kids swim, or I learned how to swim when I was X years old. Or I'm terrified of the water,
Yep.
and I'm scared of it. I don't know how to swim. Can you teach me how to swim? I always get requests like that. So for myself, I mean, I was obviously on the first half of that where I just naturally fell in love with it. My parents put me in swim lessons. I started to do swim team. And then I really just never stopped. I was involved with swimming in some capacity pretty much my entire life. And, you know, I think of it, it's one of my passions. I'm passionate about a lot of different things. And swimming just happens to be the one that in this chapter of my life, I've built a business around, I've built a brand around, and I've enjoyed that journey. And, you know, I hope that I can continue to do that, because now, and I didn't expect to be in this position, I'm an inspirational figure for a lot of people. And I do feel some level of pressure with that, because now I'm an example for people who are younger than me, and they think, oh, wow, like that guy is still swimming, and he's you know, an old man. He's not a 15, 16-year-old kid anymore. He's like a proper adult, and he's still swimming. He's enjoying it, and he's swimming fast. So when I was growing up, I never saw that. I thought swimming was one of those things that, okay, I'm on the swim team, and then it's like you're done when you're 17 or 18 years old. If you're really good, maybe you can swim in college, and then there's like this Olympics and stuff like that. But that was so far away from me when I was growing up. I was all right at swimming, but I was never on the track to compete internationally and, like, you know, represent, especially the United States. It's the best swimming country in the world. So I was never on that path, but I thought at 17 or 18 I would be done. And now I'm, you know, close to double that age, and I'm still doing it, and I'm enjoying it in some ways more now than when I was a kid growing up.
Okay. So you kind of start off swimming for passion, right? And then I'm assuming at some point you were kind of pushing professionally and maybe realized that wasn't the path. How did you kind of still stay in the swimming lane and end up creating content and kind of going down that path?
Swimming is tough, man.
Yeah,
It is a grind. You are waking up before the sun rises. You jump in a frigid pool that no one wants to get in when your body is warm, especially growing up in Michigan. I mean, the last thing you want to do is jump in a freezing pool after you've just taken off all your clothes because you're bundled up, right?
Yep.
You're staring at a black line on the bottom of the pool. And so with all of that hardship, I guess, you know, all that grind, and every sport's a grind, but I think swimming is just this unique, differentiated difficulty that comes with it. So I think what keeps you going is having specific goals. And in swimming, because it's an individual sport, you know how fast you are. And so you're accountable to a time and a pace clock. It's different than when you play basketball or soccer or football. Like, you're on a team sport. So, you know, obviously there's different technique elements that you do, but it's the team. And if you can't play football by yourself, right? You need someone to be opposed on the other side. And what I love about swimming, and what I think has continued to keep me consistent with my training and being pretty performance oriented, is that you can measure everything. You know how you can get better. And so when the going gets tough, you can always remind yourself that at the end of the season, there's a big competition, and everything you're doing is focused on that event. And that event is maybe 6 months from now.
Yep.
And so even though you know you have to jump in this freezing pool and stare at the bottom of the pool, and maybe you don't want to do it and your body's tired, but you know that this thing is coming up, and that's what keeps you going, because it's this like delayed gratification that swimming teaches you. I think all athletics teaches you that, where, you know, yes, the workout's going to be hard now, but you're doing it because you know the gratification you're going to get later on in the future. So when it got really tough, you know, that's what kept me motivated. There were other things, obviously, being with your teammates and being able to travel with swimming. And now that's the part that I focus on more.
Yep.
It's being able to enjoy the experience. I've been able to see the world through swimming, and that wouldn't have been possible otherwise.
Okay. And how did you start creating content around it? When did that come in?
Well, you know, I've always loved creating content. You know, it's crazy to think, because nowadays, like, everyone wants to be an influencer and everyone wants to be a TikToker or whatever. And I was making content like just for my own personal use and for my family when I was like 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
So my first paid job was filming an art show, an art reception. So I got hired. Got paid $100 when I was like 12 or 13.
Not bad.
Yeah, $100 as a 12-year-old, and it wasn't technically my equipment. My family owned a digital camera, and I was just hired to go and film. And it was the reason why I was hired is because I had demonstrated an interest in and done that skill. It's not like, oh, he's a young kid. He knows how technology works. He knows how to CD-ROM works.
Yeah.
Even just saying CD-ROM kind of sounds archaic now that I think about it. But yeah, we had these, mini DV cassettes and I would do this job and I just would, like as a hobby, like film content. I haven't shared this with too many people, but when I was 15, I won $20,000 worth of high definition filming equipment. I did a competition with Panasonic. I wrote an essay and then I won $20,000 worth of stuff. So I won like a plasma TV, laptop, camera, multiple cameras actually. And the whole idea for this project, like, wow, sign me up. I mean, still today, and now that I think about it, in today's dollars, that's like maybe 40 to 50 grand worth of tech. And so, well, why did I win all that stuff? Because I wrote an essay on how I could use this technology to bring my family closer together and to, document experiences. Because I was already doing that, but I just didn't have like the high level of, high definition technology at the time. So I won all this stuff. And then that really pushed me even further into the tech world and creating content. And next thing you know, I'm doing it pretty professionally, and millions of people are watching the stuff that I do, which is kind of crazy to think about. And that was never the intended purpose of my joy of making videos.
So the passions are the swimming, the content. Did you have, or have you had since, kind of any others, and are they involved in the business today?
I think traveling has, traveling is interesting because you can travel like locally, wherever you grow up in the world, you can travel. You might not cross borders internationally. And so there's always that experience in your local town or a neighboring city that you can probably get to without having a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think when I got a little bit older, and even in the journey of starting MySwimPro, I started to travel for the business. So I would go to pitch competitions across the United States, but it wasn't until 2017 when I went to a swimming competition in Hungary. So my first time going to Europe, and then I also used that as an opportunity to travel to a few other countries. I went to Austria, I went to the Czech Republic, and that was my first experience in Europe, and it was enabled by going to a swimming competition.
Yep.
And I created some content around that swimming competition. And so since then I've gone to, several dozen countries, and I've embedded this travel experience into our business because now I host in-person swimming retreats where I'm your swimming vacation planner, basically, where people sign up and they get to travel the world and I get to coach. And I've coached now in more than 10 different countries through either workshops or running these retreats. So I think, now I love exploring the world, different cultures, and then being able to provide that experience for other people is something that, again, I never would have thought I would be running these events all over the world. And here we are.
But it's like the ikigai, right? You found your kind of passion, interest, and I forget the other one, but the concentric circles. This seems to be what you've built your business around, which is the sweet spot.
Right. You're finding things that you're interested in, and that way you don't feel like you're working.
That's what I was going to ask next. So do you feel like you're working when you're running an event, or?
I definitely feel like I'm working.
Okay.
But it's an enjoyable experience. And now I'm at a point with our business and like financially where if I really don't want to do it, I won't do it. And so I've thought about expanding our business in different ways. And sometimes I just don't feel like it. I just, it's not worth the added stress. Granted, we have a business.
Yep.
We need to make money. We've also raised investment capital. So I don't want to sit here and think that, oh, he's kind of just hanging out and coasting and just really lazy. Like, no, I mean, we have ambition and I want to continue to grow and build things. And we're building up like new offers still for 2026 we're going to launch. But at the same time, I do enjoy a majority of what I do. And I always tell people if they're starting a business or they already have a business, you're always going to have crap that you don't want to do. The question is, what is the proportion of stuff that you don't want to do and that you dread? And how much energy does that take away from the things that you do want to do? And I always tell people my ratio is between like 20 and 30% maximum things that I don't necessarily want to do. Sometimes maybe it's 90% things that I really love doing. And it's that 10% of admin or just, you have to hire someone, fire someone, right? There's just business, right? It happens. But so I talk to some people and they hate 90% of what they do.
What would you say to someone in that position? And it's repeated, right? It's not just for like a 2-week period where they're going through problems, but it's 6 months plus.
Yeah, you just got to look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable. I mean, sometimes people want the easy answer of like, oh, maybe you spend more time. Like, no, man, like if you're really miserable, got to hold yourself accountable. Like, why is that? List out all the things that give you energy, all the things that drain your energy. Mm-hmm. And if you're not satisfied, you got to do something about it.
Change it.
You know,
business.
Like, you know, if you're the entrepreneur, like, you're in control.
Yeah.
So you got to focus on like what's delivering value. What do you enjoy doing? And maybe it's time to pivot. Maybe it's time to fire someone, hire someone, whatever it is. And if you're working the 9 to 5, it's the same thing. Maybe it's time to upskill and get another job. Or maybe the same job, just the people around you are not the right fit and go get another job.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. On the content side, switching to that. So you're kind of, you know, making videos for fun. I'm assuming at some point you start kind of filming your swimming experience. How does that journey kind of evolve?
So I think there are 2 phases of it, or maybe 3 phases. So in the beginning, it was all for hobby. I had no business interests. I was just making videos because I loved making videos. And then I think when I started the company, MySwimPro, is when it took a different view. Because
how far into making videos for fun was that?
I mean, like we can call these decade chapters. So like from when I was like 13 to 23, that was the fun era where, you know, even when I was in college, I bought a GoPro and we would go on training trip. I made like a recap heading into our conference championship. And it was just like a hype video for our team. And it was, now when I look back at the edit, I'm like, my God, this is horrible. But at the time, it actually looked like some next level stuff. And the whole content landscape has really advanced. And with AI, everything looks so professional now. But at the time, it didn't look that great, but I still enjoyed it. And it did look cool to me and the people that were watching it. So I guess chapter 1 was self-fulfillment, enjoyment, and, you know, not really thinking about it from a business perspective or even professionally thinking I would make videos. Like my old high school coach called me like the Steven Spielberg of swimming. And now the irony is like I kind of am in some ways. But that was chapter 1. Chapter 2 is when I was 23 is when I launched the company MySwimPro. So I'm done with college. I was working at a startup and then I started my company. I was coaching swimming. So I was around swimming still, but then I realized, oh, like, you know, I need to document what I'm doing. People are asking me questions about swimming. I can solve their problem by making a video, and YouTube is the best medium. You know, sure, there are other channels, but let me just make a 15-minute video explaining this swimming concept. So I think that was chapter 2, and that was basically the last 10 years. So that was 2015, 2016. And so chapter 2 was a decade of building, you know, one of the largest digital media footprints inside of swimming. And so now I think chapter 3 is what I'm beginning now, where, you know, still building off of that momentum professionally, but being able to really leverage this brand with the mindset of how can I impact more people and also create more financial return. Because in the very beginning of the journey of creating content, even within MySwimPro, I mean, our YouTube channel wasn't monetized. It wasn't really generating new traffic in terms of like leads. It was just, oh, here's the swimming guy who's going to help me get better at swimming. And there's certainly value of that. And I think when you build that for 10 years, maybe 20 years, if you think about, you know, the first 10 years is foundational of like figuring out how stuff works. Chapter 2 is 10 years of building the audience and building credibility and trust. And now we're transitioning to chapter 3, which is, okay, there's like real business substance. I'm launching, you know, more offers. I'm writing more books. I'm doing more in the category. And then how can I impact more people through that expanded reach that I've developed?
Okay. So you're kind of thinking chapter 1, 10 years is learning. 2, 10 years, second decade is building brand. And then 3rd is monetization.
Monetization and also like new opportunities.
Okay.
Because, you know, a lot of the rooms that I've been able to be in and even, you know, being invited to stuff like this is because I've built a brand and credibility. I think even today we were talking about the event that I was at, the Ocean Man World Final. And, you know, I'm one of, if not the most recognizable person at the event. And so people are flying in from all over the world. That only happened because I had 10 years of building my, you know, my persona and my company within that category. You know, if this event was 10 years ago and I show up, I'm just another guy doing the swimming, which is in some ways actually better because I can kind of go incognito and no one talks to me. But, you know, there's certainly pros and cons of being in that situation.
Okay. Did the enjoyment lessen when you kind of start to monetize your passion?
It's a different kind of enjoyment. I think there's something about just being in this like raw, pure sense of I'm just going to go make this video and kind of like screw around with it and, spend a bunch of time editing the content myself. Like now, I have other people that work on our team that are involved in different ways. So I think there's something like pure, like when you're doing everything and there's no mindset of like, I need this video to perform in a certain way or else it was a failure.
Yep.
And so now we're a lot more analytical about everything that we do, from, what is the content going to be about? When is it going out? What is the title? What is the thumbnail? What word, like now, I mean, we literally have a meeting every week and we go through like word by word what the retention looks like in the first 30 seconds. And, it's like, we look at the graph and it's like, well, why did retention fall off here? And so I am very particular about the way that I script the first 30 seconds. And in the beginning, I didn't do that. It was like, what's up, swim fans? Today we're talking about how to do a flip turn and how to be a better swimmer.
Yep.
And now if I do that, I could still do it, but it's not going to perform as well. And so, but that feels more like organic and pure and raw. But I don't 100% do that anymore because I can't, for the sake of the goals that we mentioned about being able to expand the brand and new opportunities. So it's a difficult situation to be in because you want to be pure. At the same time, if you only do that, then I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in right now. So I think it's a balance.
Okay. And what channels or mediums are you putting content out on now? So you've obviously got the main kind of YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. That's under your name, right?
Yeah, so we have my name, the swimming content, where I'm like the swim coach of the internet, basically. Mm-hmm. Then we have our brand page, which is under MySwimPro. And that has a similar vibe, but it's not as dependent on me. So we've had other actors in that channel. We've done like interview documentary style videos, which are completely about someone else. Maybe I narrate the video, but I'm not like in it. We have a pretty substantial following there. And then we have all the other channels: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We've done some stuff on X, even Pinterest. But I would say there's threads now that we're posting on. So we're pretty much everywhere. But I would say the most value that we can create is on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, a little bit of TikTok.
Okay. And is that kind of in order of monetization of YouTube being the most powerful to drive leads or to build brand?
I think it's the latter, actually. It's to build brand. And where does brand comes from? It building trust. So, if you think about how you build trust with someone, the more time you spend with them, the more trust they're going to have, even if they don't even agree with what you're saying. Yep. Like, I'm sure you've watched maybe an interview or a podcast and maybe you don't agree 100% with the person, but you at least trust that person that they mean what they're saying. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't agree with it, you still have built some kind of a relationship and respect for the person for what their opinion is, whether or not you like it or agree or disagree. And I think the best place to do that is YouTube, where people have the time and attention to sit there, and assuming they're interested or you're delivering value, they're going to watch you for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on that long form approach. That's why, people who are in front of the camera on YouTube and they're educating, these people have a lot of authority on whatever they're talking about because you build a parasocial relationship. People recognize your face, they recognize your voice, they trust what you're talking about. Every other channel doesn't deliver that kind of brand trust development. And it also doesn't create a parasocial relationship, which it sounds manipulative, but at the end of the day, like if people are watching you, you want them to feel like they know you because then they trust you. And whether you're trying to monetize that or not, right, it adds more impact to what you're doing. Because like, let's take weight loss, for example, and you have two people saying the exact same thing about how to lose weight. The one who you've watched 10 hours of them saying the exact same information, you're going to trust whatever they say more than the person you've only watched for 5 minutes or even 30 seconds. If you're scrolling on TikTok and you see the exact same information, but you've watched this dude over here talk about it for 10 hours and this other person talk about it for 30 seconds, you might disregard what they even say. But they're saying the exact same thing, but you've built trust with that other person. And so that person's more likely to help that person lose weight. And so for us, it's not weight loss, it's swimming. Same thing. I'm saying the same stuff as a lot of people in the category. Maybe some people like the way that I explain it or the way that I showcase how to get better at swimming. But people trust me more than the person who they've only watched for 30 seconds.
Okay. In terms of that content ecosystem, do you view, obviously you view kind of YouTube as central to that, but do you point all the other channels to YouTube or what is the purpose of that kind of rest of the ecosystem.
I think we used to do more of that. Now it's so competitive on each platform because you have people who are trying to do the same type of thing on each. Like you have people who really only focus on Instagram, people who really only focus on TikTok, and maybe they sprinkle some content elsewhere. So I think in the earlier days, we would really just focus on YouTube as, hey, all the content's there. That's where you go and learn. I think now people are much more dependent on spending time on Instagram, for example. And so now I will, when I film a YouTube video, I'll film multiple dedicated short form pieces of content that we can use in addition to chopping up the long form. Because if you want to perform on those channels, going back to what we talked about, like how pure is it, it'd be more pure if you just kind of document what I'm already doing and then, snippet some stuff up. But you have to be pure to the platform. And so that's why you have to record certain short form content if you want to compete at the highest level for attention, because we're in the attention economy at the end of the day. So,
and are you kind of viewing, let's say, Instagram or these other channels as kind of discovery and then get people across to YouTube, or how does that kind of relationship work?
There's a little bit of that. Yeah. So, I mean, I think for us, because my long form content's not like, it's not a super long form where it's like a podcast where, hey, if you want to watch the full episode, go and check it out on YouTube. A lot of people are doing that. I think for us, it's like you can actually still get value out of that 30-second snippet. It just has to be short, fast, and punchy. And you have to do a lot of those. So that 10-hour rule still kind of applies. It's just going to take a lot more content to get them to 10 hours. So, let's use a smaller number, for example. Let's say, if 1 hour equaled the ultimate brand and trust building, I think you need more than an hour. But let's say it's 1 hour. Great. They could watch 4 15-minute YouTube videos of mine. They can get there with Instagram, but it's not going to take 4 videos. It might take like 140. And then they'll still, and we have thousands of posts, right? So we've done more than 140. So if someone's really consuming that content on that channel, and it happens to be Instagram or TikTok, they will build that parasocial relationship, especially if they see it in multiple places, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. But I think it's a lot more attention grabbing if you can hold someone's awareness for more than 30 seconds.
Okay. And on the flip side, have you seen the reverse to be true of, like, someone discovers you on YouTube, but maybe they're more of an Instagram person? They go and start following you on Instagram and then kind of stay up to date there.
I think there's more curiosity there. So what people will do is they'll go to Instagram to assess credibility, because Instagram's like your website. So, and that's why you can see like there's a huge discrepancy in like how many followers I have on YouTube versus Instagram, because I think a lot of people, they go to YouTube to learn how to be a better swimmer. And over the last 10 years, I've acquired a lot of subscribers because people are going for that. And in that journey, they're like, wait, who is this guy? Especially if they first discovered me, they're like, what is he? So you go to Google. Now you go to ChatGPT maybe, and you like, who is this? What are their swimming credentials? A lot of people, if you go to YouTube and you type in my name, people want to like see very interesting things about me, like how tall I am, my ethnicity, like who my wife is, net worth, even my swimming times. So we wrote an article on our blog, just like, what are my times in swimming? And, if you're a real swim nerd, you'll be able to figure it out. But just people are trying to assess credibility. That's why they want to know does he actually know what he's talking about? Or is he just especially because in the earlier days, my videos, I was never at a swimming pool. So I would create content of me standing in front of a whiteboard. So like I look like I'm in okay shape, but you wouldn't know that I'm good at swimming, or at least good enough to explain this concept. Nowadays, I do a lot more content at a swimming pool. Being in Dubai makes that a lot easier. And so I think there's more assumed credibility just because of the fact that I play the part at the pool. And then you can see the backlog of videos of 2,000 videos. And you can see, oh, he has a lot of followers, so he must know what he's talking about. Whether or not you deserve that credibility is another question, but it's there.
Okay. What does a kind of video ideation and creation process look like now?
That's a really good question, because I feel like we're still trying to improve this. I think there is structure to the chaos. I talk to a lot of people and they just like, oh, I'm going to make a video today and see what happens. It's not like that. So it's definitely much more structured in the sense that we do it like quarter by quarter. So ideally we plan out the next 3 months of core video ideas, including the title, what some bullet points are. And
will you do this for all channels, or is it just YouTube?
YouTube. So YouTube is the backbone. So what we'll do is, we'll talk about, okay, in the next 3 months, we have a list of lots of ideas, lots of other inspiration from other channels. Even YouTube is giving you ideas. Now we're using AI for all this content ideas. So YouTube is the backbone. So let's say we come up with an idea, 5 ways to improve your freestyle breathing technique. All right. Let's say that's like the headline. That's the title. That's also going to be an email subject line that we send out with the video with a few bullet points. Then along that lines, I'm going to create multiple short form pieces of content where I explain different drills that fit into that specific video. And then, we'll do this as a team. We'll brainstorm these ideas and we'll plan them out for, the next 3 months, basically. Yep. We change it, but like at least I'd like to change less than half of that. So at least we're more than 50% there. That's what's going to happen. Maybe there's a collaboration that pops up. So I happen to be in the same city at the same time with this Olympic swimmer. They're hosting a thing, and I've done this several times now. I've been able to do like swim clinic type stuff with, world record holders. And so there's a timeliness to that because I don't want to film it and then it goes out 3 months later. I want to make sure, this event happened. I do an analysis on a world record. It goes out the next day. So the structure stays consistent outside of those anomalies. Yep. And then on our weekly basis, we also do thumbnail review. So, we'll film some content. I'm pretty structured with the first 30 seconds I mentioned, exactly word for word, what I'm going to say in the hook. And then what are the, 5 main points in that video? What are the call to actions? When am I saying them? And if there's a sponsored insertion, I've done a lot of brand deals in the past. I do less of those now because now I'm plugging our own offers. So like, where am I going to do that? Where I'm least likely to drop off retention and most likely to get someone to actually do something. And that's the part that I'm still iterating, trying to figure it out. I don't think anyone's ever finally figured it out. And then we do analytic review. So once that video goes out, the following week we have data. What was the click-through rate? What was the retention at 30 seconds, overall retention? Where's the traffic coming from? What are the comments saying? And we do this on a weekly basis. So we're always refining the machine. And it's similar for short form content. We're looking at all that stuff. But I would say the core is YouTube as the backbone and all the content waterfalls off of that.
Okay. You mentioned the weekly kind of analytical reviews once stuff is live. Is that to kind of feed back into the ideation loop? Or
100%.
Is that to A/B test maybe a new thumbnail for that existing video?
Both. Yeah, we're looking at, okay, well, if this is performing well, great. Why did it perform well? If it's not performing well, great. Why is it not performing well? What can we do about that? But we're also thinking forward. So let's learn from that and take that into the next iteration. And I think whether you're making a YouTube video or creating a new offer, a new sales pitch deck, whatever, you need to always be doing this. If you think that you figured it out, like even we talk about our app, right? We've made over 700 or 800 app updates in the last 10 years. So like every 1 to 2 weeks, we're shipping out a new update, right? Whether it's a big feature that we've been working on for 3 months, or it's a tweak that you maybe don't even notice. We've A/B tested our pricing in our app, like over 100 times, like different variations in packages and, monthly pricing, yearly pricing. We have a lifetime offer, 3-month offer, 1-week trial, 7-day, 14-day trial, 30-day trial. Like we're always testing. You just when you think you figured it out, something changes, consumer behavior changes, the app store is different, and then we've got to change it again.
Okay. Back to the YouTube kind of testing. Are there certain kind of metrics you're looking at or certain benchmarks that you want to be in range of? And if so, what are those?
The 3 most important that we pay attention to, number 1 is click-through rate. Number 2 is the percent view duration or percent view at 30 seconds. Like what percent of people are still watching at 30 seconds. And then the last one is the average view duration of the whole video. And you can look at that on an absolute time or on a percent. So if we make a really, really long video, the percentage of that is going to fall apart, but maybe the absolute number is going to be a lot higher. So for us and most YouTube channels that are pretty big, if you're over 5% on the click-through rate, like you're doing pretty well. If you're over 10%, you're doing really well. Now, some people I've seen their channels and they have like a click-through rate of like 20%. And that really means one of 2 things. Either it was truly a banger video, and if that's the case, then you probably have a lot of views and a lot of new traffic coming in. What most likely is happening is your video is only being presented to a very small group of people. That's how you can get a 20% click-through rate. And then for us, we're between 5 and 10% most of the time on every video. We've been on both ends outside that range. If it's under 5%, we should probably test something else. If it's over 10%, it's like, let's go. How do we repeat that? At the same time, when we look at the 30-second percentage view, on a good video will be over 70, 75%. On a okay video will probably be between like 55 and 70%. And if it's a bad video, for us, it'll be probably under 50%. And that's, if you get lower numbers relative to your channel, YouTube won't put that video in front of more people. And then the next video that you put out, no matter how good it is, it's only going to be fed to an even smaller group of people. And then if it performs, then it'll start to claw its way back to a bigger audience. So that's what, we talked about, do I lose some of the joy maybe of, doing it from a business perspective? It's like, that's the part that's kind of annoying, because I wish every video I put out, everyone who subscribed watches it. Everyone who I want to see it sees it. The reality is, if you don't do all the stuff I just talked about, that's never going to happen. And even then, it's still not going to happen.
How is this from, I guess, a mental health perspective, in the sense that I've got friends that, big channels, sit on YouTube Studio kind of refreshing it.
Yep.
Waking up in the middle of the night.
I do that all the time.
Okay.
I don't say waking up in the middle of the night. I think what keeps me grounded is that I have a lot of different things going on. I think if you're a YouTube creator
and you have one
and
thing,
this is the only thing and everything's riding on this, then it's going to cause some level of stress. And you should be somewhat obsessive if you want to succeed. I don't think you can really be that successful at anything unless you're really enjoying it and or obsessing over it. It's hard to obsess over something if you don't enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, it's easy to obsess over it. So I think regardless of what it is that you're trying to be really good at, you need to have some level of both of those. And so when you ask about a mental health perspective, I'd say I've only been partially burned out at certain times. It's more so I'm just not focusing enough on the things that I enjoy. So, because I have a few different things going on, I've got the business, we have our app, I do these in-person events, I'm writing a lot, I have YouTube. Sometimes all of them seem to be going wrong at the same time. And that's when it's hard, because it's like, wow, everything that I do is not working. Like literally everything. And then, when you add in like your personal life and it's like, damn it, everything just is going wrong. Right. That's when it's like, I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like everything I do it's failing. And I think in those moments, you have to remind yourself of like, why am I doing all of this? Like what is my purpose behind all of this? Like, what are the things that I really enjoy? And I think just leaning on those things is what gets you through those really difficult periods where it just seems like everything doesn't work. Like literally everything is failing in front of you. And I think over the journey of life, you're going to have a lot of those. I've certainly had those. Sometimes people think like, damn it, everything he does just kind of looks like it's working. And the reality is like a lot of things do work, but a lot of things don't work. And it's about how you handle those setbacks and what you learn from them, and also enjoying the journey itself and not thinking that it's all about, this specific event in the future. Like we're about to pass 1 million subscribers, right? Like this is something that in the beginning, I never thought like I would be in that situation where it's almost inevitable at this point, just a matter of time. And so are we going to get there? At some point, is anything going to change once that happens? No, like literally nothing is going to change when we get to 1 million subscribers. I'm going to get this giant plaque and it's going to give me credibility in the eyes of other people. But in terms of my day-to-day enjoyment, there's going to be a small ounce of like, pat yourself on the back, myself and our team, like, hey, we made it this far, but we keep going because whether we hit this number or not, I still enjoy that process and that journey and meeting people and creating the videos. And it's not like, well, I guess I'm done.
Okay.
And if you focus too much on that specific destination, then you lose the enjoyment of the journey. And I know I mentioned earlier, like you want to have a reason to keep going, a goal. So the 1 million mark is certainly a goal. And I know our team will be happy when we get there, but it's not like now we're done. I guess we're done. We move on.
So you're saying you've got to focus on the kind of process and stay in the present.
We focus on those 3 metrics, because if we focus on those 3 metrics every video, eventually we're going to get to 1 million. Eventually we're going to see success in other ways. And, that's the journey. So I think as long as we're enjoying the journey of focusing on these 3 metrics and finding enjoyment in the process of making that specific video, then it's good. And that's how we've done lots of videos so far.
Okay. But how do you balance that with the kind of business perspective of, every quarter you need to set forecasts, or every year, and kind of live in the future in a certain sense with kind of staying grounded in the present.
Yeah, I take a much longer term approach to this now. I think in the earlier days, think about it, like when I'm 23 years old and I started the company, I was not thinking 10 years in the future. I was thinking one day in the future, 1 week, 1 month. And I thought when I started, in 3 to 5 years, I probably won't be doing this. I'll be doing something completely different. I don't know what that is. Maybe I'll work at another company. I'll start another company. And now it's been over 10 years and I've developed authority in our category and I enjoy the business that we've built and I see ways that we can keep growing it. So I think when it comes to like thinking about quarterly results or monthly results, like, sure, I'm thinking about those things. Now I'm thinking about things in like multi-year sequences because everything takes longer than you want. You know, I thought everything would happen in 3 years and here we are 10 years later.
Okay. In terms of the content, what does the team look like around that? And I guess for all channels here.
Yeah, we're a relatively small team because of all the new technology that's out there. At one point, we had a lot more people. Like at one point when we were fully staffed, if you will, on just the content side, right? So I'm the talent in the videos and I help with ideation and even dabbling a little bit with editing. I had 2 full-time long form editors that would also do short form and a full-time social person that was doing short form content editing. And we had another person that was doing marketing communications, like messaging, the emails and our blog and, you know, captions and stuff like that. So now we've condensed the team where it's myself. I'm even more involved actually in some ways on the ideation and the edits and stuff like that. I still have a full-time dedicated long form editor who does some short form. And then we have a social person that's doing the, you know, captions and a little bit of creation as well. And I've contracted out people. So when it comes to filming or photography, or I've had other people help in different ways. Whereas in the beginning, I didn't really do that. So yeah, I think we're maybe half the size, but our output is not half. It's equal, but in terms of impact to our business, it's higher. And I think that's probably the future of content creation, is being more efficient with less people. It doesn't mean like you're not going to have a job if you do a certain task, but the person who does have the job, their expectations of delivery are so much higher.
A 3-person team on the content side.
Essentially 3-person just on content.
Wow. Yeah. And that's because of AI and the kind of changes there, or?
And also being more strategic with the kind of content that we produce. So I think, you know, we're more specific. We have a higher bar of what I'm willing and able to film. You know, before it was just kind of like, okay, let me just, you know, try all these different things all at the same time. And it's like, we have to get a video every single week on every channel. And now it's, well, if I don't feel like this is going to perform and the timing's not right, and I don't want to force it because I've created so much already. So now I'm essentially repeating a lot of similar type of content. I'm just repackaging it in different ways and trying to find new collaborations, or, you know, someone's always going to break the world record in something. So I'm always going to have some level of like newsworthy material, but I've done a lot already. So I don't want to repeat myself just for the sake of repeating myself. And that's another reason why I don't need as much team, because we can leverage AI to do a lot of stuff that maybe someone would have done before. And the team that we have needs to be more efficient in the first place.
Okay. Do you have any tips or recommendations on those AI tools?
Oh, there's so many coming up all the time. I mean, from the very basic ones of like, help me strategize what I'm actually going to do. So that's as simple as ChatGPT. And then on the extreme end, on the other side, it's like Higgsfield AI, where it can completely render a full video for you with AI. So you upload a picture, explain what you want it to do. And if you pay enough money with the coins and their ecosystem, you will get a very, very realistic video. And that could serve for a thumbnail, B-roll. You know, CapCut has a ton of templates now. But I do a lot of stuff with the old school tools like Edits by Meta. And, you know, even before we spoke, you know, I spent 20 minutes and I put together a clip that was less than 20 minutes actually. And it was using the edits. It went on Instagram. As we're speaking, it probably has like 50,000 views in the last hour. So, you know, you don't have to be, oh, you know, I studied at this university, this specific thing, or I have this fancy tool that no one else has. If you have the right eye for content, and that's acquired through experience and data, you know, your phone is a very powerful tool that can get the job done.
Okay. And how are you staying up to date with all these tools?
That's tough because I'm trying to be multidisciplinary. I'm trying to, you know, stay up to date with best practices in the app development world, with the swimming world, with technology, with my own personal interests and travel. And then we have content. And so I do consume a fair amount of content. Like I think this is one thing it's partially ruined my experience of viewing other people's content, because whenever I watch a podcast or I consume content, I'm always reverse engineering every word choice that they've made. And I'm, always like, oh, I would need to make the swimming version of this video. And I'm like bookmarking things. So I find that it's still very valuable for me to spend a fair amount of time on social media. Like we're talking an hour, not 10 hours a day, right?
Yep.
So, I do consume probably at least an hour of content. I want to see what other people in our category are doing, how they're leveraging tools. I think the challenge becomes when you go from 30 minutes to 60 minutes of information gathering and staying up to date with how people are doing stuff and the way the world is moving, to doom scrolling. And now I'm like, crap, I just spent 3 hours looking at reels. So I try and minimize that. I think I've done a pretty good job of that, just staying on top of it. But yeah, you just got to be in the ecosystem, and that's how you learn.
Okay, so you're mainly kind of watching other creators and trying to reverse engineer what they're doing and what tools they're using.
For inspiration, but also just looking at our own stuff, looking at, we have so much data. So, I'm producing, one of my editors made something, and then I want to go and look at like, how'd that perform? How would I have done it differently? What feedback can I give them? How can I do another iteration of that if it performed well? And then, looking at other people in the space.
Okay, so the tool you mentioned with the rendering, is that coming from kind of reviewing peer content?
Higgsfield AI. So this tool, and there are a few others that are like it.
How do you discover stuff like that?
So, the algorithm it's a funny place. It knows you very well. So you start watching content and you pause. Oh, that's this is from someone who's talking about how to be a good content creator. Let me take note of that. Kind of swipe through. Maybe it's a carousel and they have 5 social media tips, whatever. You scroll through. Okay, interesting. Keep scrolling. Your algorithm is going to start promoting more content along the lines of how to be a good content creator, how to be, I mentioned weight loss, right? Like I'm working on something right now in the nutrition space for 2026. And so I became a certified nutrition coach this year.
Wow.
Started learning a lot about
how do you have
nutrition.
The time?
Just self-development. I want to keep leveling up. So that's an area I didn't know very much about. I wanted to learn more about nutrition. So next thing you know, I'm looking at a lot of nutritional content, learning about different macronutrient profiles of different things, bodybuilding, all that stuff. And then I'm getting content in my feed about that specific topic. So whatever you're interested in, the algorithm knows sometimes before you even know how interested you are, and it keeps giving you more. And a lot of times people think, the algorithm is feeding them such negative stuff. It's like, it's really just amplifying what's already going on in your mind.
Right.
So if you are seeing content that you don't like, stop watching it.
Yeah.
Like start typing in the search the things that you actually want to see. YouTube, Instagram, they all work the same way. They're just giving you more of what's giving you that dopamine hit. So make sure you train it on the right thing that you want to reinforce yourself.
Okay. My final question on the content side is about ads.
Okay.
How do you view ads, and have you been kind of a big proponent or user of them?
I think there's a lot of potential that we're missing out on because we're not fully leveraging advertising. We've done a lot of ads on the app side.
Yep.
We've done ads a little bit on our higher ticket side of things. And I think that's really where a lot of the value is, because if you're trying to sell a product that's, let's say $3, you don't have a lot of room for profit margin at all, if you're spending any money on ads, right? And you think about like our app is a low ticket offer. It's $120 a year, $20 a month. We got to pay Apple or Google 30% of the commission. There's an LTV associated between $200 and $300. So when you start to like work your way through it, if our cost to acquire is, let's say $200 through meta ads, and our revenue is $300, you're going to make a profit. Great. No, that's lifetime value over like 5 years.
Yep.
So our break-even point isn't for a year and a half, 2 years in, which can work. A lot of businesses have gotten into trouble by thinking their lifetime value is higher than it actually is. So on the low ticket, it's tough. When you start to charge more money, whether it's $200, $300, $400, $500, $1,000, whatever it may be, now it starts to get interesting. So our higher ticket events are $5,000 to $7,000, $8,000, and so we have room to be able to promote these. And I think this is an unlock for our business, that we can leverage the organic content and traffic and trust that we already have with a nudge of paid traffic. And I think this is room for us to grow for sure.
Okay. Switching there to kind of monetization, which you explained quite nicely. So you've got the kind of app, which is the low ticket kind of mass offering, right? Then you've got the events and kind of retreats that are high ticket.
Yeah.
You've also got books. I want to come back to those
Yeah.
in a second. But aside from that, is there kind of anything that you've got that is currently kind of live on the...
We've actually tested other things in the mid-ticket space. So
Okay.
thinking, between, let's say, $500 and $3,000. And this is a tricky one. I think we tried a lot of offers, a lot of price points. We actually folded that offer, and I'm building a new offer for 2026,
For the mid.
which is, it's going to be a mid-ticket type
Yeah.
price point. And it's in swimming world, but it's an adjacent persona. So I'm still doing a lot of customer discovery on this, and I'm very excited by the initial conversations we're having. But I do think there's value in having an ascension model, which, thinking about like my book. So if you think about like, what does author mean, right? If you're an author, it has the word, authority has the word author
Yep.
inside of it.
Yeah.
So but a book is the cheapest thing that you can get, right? So whether it's an ebook or, physical book that's $20-$25, having a physical thing that has your name on it, that packages, 200 pages of information about a topic, you by definition have authority in this space as an author. So when you think about how that fits in the overall ecosystem, there's the book, which is low ticket. Then you can, that's great. I trust him. He's helping me get better at swimming. We move to a true low ticket offer, which is, $120 app subscription. Oh, great. I picked up the book. Now I'm going to try the app, and this is going to be like my personal coach. Then you move up to that mid-ticket offer, which is, hey, if I get a little bit more support, now I'm spending 10 times the price, but now at $1,000 or $2,000, I feel like I'm really much closer to not only me, but also the opportunity to improve. It's going to happen faster. It's going to be more direct. I'm going to get more feedback. And then you move into the ultimate experience, which is our in-person event. So now we leveled up the price another 5 times, and now you're literally going in person to an event. And if you want to associate some of the value to working with me directly, now you're with me for a week, and we're sharing meals together. We're going on a yacht trip together. And so for this experience, yes, it's the biggest investment, but you're also getting the most value delivery and ideally the most return on that investment, because you're going to improve the fastest, because it's like the most, hand holding you can get, the most support. Compare that to a book. You order the book. I'm not going to be able to speak with you. You're not going to be able to get any support. It's static. There's no software component that is evolving with you. It's just, you read it, you got the information, and now you're done.
Okay. So as you go up that kind of ladder, you get essentially more interaction with you and the most up-to-date kind of information, right?
You get more interaction with me, but also just a better experience. So when you think about what is the best experience, it's an in-person event. It's not just me. It's a resort. It's I don't own the resort. I don't own the yacht that we're chartering. I have a staff with me. I have a photographer that's taking your photos. I have another coach that's doing analysis and giving feedback. There are other people that I was able to bring together. So the value is partially hanging out with me, but a lot of the value is just, this is the best total experience that money can buy basically for swimming. And that's why it's priced, 60 times what our app is, because the app is the software version of that. So you're going to get this real-time coaching experience on your smartwatch, but you're not really going to get feedback from like a human. You're still swimming by yourself. Like you're not going to be with other people. I'm not in the pool with you. Like I'm not in the lane next to you being your cheerleader, right? It's funny. We do have a graphic actually where it's like cheering on the watch and, full frame on the phone as well. But like, that's the best you're going to get. You're not going to get real human interaction. And that, I think in the world of AI, this is going to be more and more valuable because AI has kind of like gotten rid of a lot of the value of information.
It's cannibalizing the low end.
It's cannibalized a lot of low ticket stuff. So, we think about this for our app. I think there's something about having a physical book that's still somewhat valuable. But yeah, if you want information, you can get it. It's never been easier to do that. But if you want human connection, if you want to go to an all-inclusive resort with palm trees around you, you're going to pay for that. And I think that's going to become more valuable in the future.
Okay. Could I just kind of put a hypothetical scenario to you of someone that's started out in content, they're getting traffic, maybe they've also figured out ads. Where in that product ladder would you say they should start? Because I get your point of like, eventually you want to end up with kind of the whole ladder, right? But you got to build it rung by rung. So where would you start if you kind of went back to the beginning?
Yeah, I hate to say it depends, but it depends.
Okay.
Well, why does it depend? It depends on what. So if you've created a massive audience and the way that you've done that is through virality and hopping on trends, and you do have a very big audience, it's going to be difficult to sell a high ticket type of thing to that audience because they look at you from an entertainment perspective, right? So even if let's say you're a comedian, you've got a lot of people following you because you're really, really funny, right? So in order to deliver on that comedy experience, you're going to host an in-person event.
Yep.
And so even if you have all these millions of followers, you could probably get people interested to show up to this event. Are they going to spend money? In the comedy space, probably not. They probably won't spend that much money because you still need to build your authority outside of just having really popular viral Instagram reels or YouTube shorts, right? And I've seen comedians that get insane views and, they struggle to fill, a show. If, on the other hand, you've started to acquire an audience and you're educating them about something and you're creating value through teaching them a skill that they're trying to learn, and they've built that parasocial relationship where they look at you as an expert in something. You can be an expert in making people feel good. That's the comedian. That's fine. But let's say you're teaching people how to make money, right? That's the most lucrative niche inside of content. So you're teaching people how to make money. If you yourself have some level of credibility in doing that, besides just teaching them how to do it, and you have a higher ticket offer, that will be much higher likelihood of selling. You don't need as many people because you can charge more money because there's a direct ROI on what they're getting. Okay, he teaches me this specific skill. If I learn this skill, I will make X amount of money. What is the likelihood of success of that happening? So people they're not doing it like Alex Hormozi has this value equation. Like people don't really think about it like that, but they feel it like that. Like, am I going to get something out of this? And if you're teaching people how to make money, what is that insecurity? It's like, well, I want to make more money. Like, the insecurity of like, I want to laugh is a different feeling. So I think to answer your question, if you can, you should lean into the higher ticket side of things, but not everyone can do that. You can't, if you're just stupid entertainment, and I say stupid with a grain of salt, like let's say you're doing stupid stuff on camera and that's why people are following you. You're putting your body on the line and people are like, oh my God, or you're putting a lot of skin online, and that's why they're following you. Like, what do you actually? You might be able to make a lot of money on that, but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. So let's say you're doing a non-high value skill, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to sell anything, low ticket or high ticket. But if you do educate, high ticket has a lot of opportunity.
Okay. Does the returning rate come into that? Whereas, if you have a smaller audience with, super highly engaged fans that keep coming back and back, does that mean you can charge more?
I think if they're coming back, it means they trust you and you are continuing to deliver value. So you've created not only more trust, but more value with that group of people. So I think there's no single way to slice it. Maybe you can just charge a lot more money up front. Or maybe they'll pay you a certain amount of money and they'll do it on a reoccurring basis or a recurring basis. I think it really depends on what you're doing. Like, what are you teaching them? What are you selling? But yeah, if people are coming back and they're rewatching your stuff or they trust you in a specific category, there's definitely long-term potential to keep increasing lifetime value, even if it's not upfront. I think that's really the telltale sign of like you're delivering value. Will people pay over a long period of time? Because it's one thing to get someone to do an emotional purchase and feed on their insecurity, and you made a certain amount of money upfront. But if you didn't deliver value, they're not going to give you money again. And I think that's a longer term like business game that you're going to play.
Okay. Final question. I just want to go back to the books. So if we look at that ladder again, when do you think they should come in, and what have you seen as kind of the benefits of creating ebooks?
The books for me are my business card. Like this, I have two business cards on the table right now. And it's because, like I mentioned earlier, the word authority has author in it. If you're trying to be a leading voice in your space, you need to put something out there. It can be in a digital form, podcast, YouTube, Instagram. And I think once you've done that, only then does it make sense where you feel that you have enough to package to a book, because the book doesn't drive the business, right? Like a book is just the handshake with the audience.
So where does that sit in the funnel?
It could be the very first time someone becomes aware of you. And this depends on how you write the book. So I've done several books and I've done them all in different ways. So for both of these books, for example, there's an associated course that you can buy. And there's also a ton of MySwimPro insertions. So if someone hadn't learned about me or anything, and they go to Amazon and they find the book, or you can run ads straight to the book and you can suffer a loss up front if you know that a certain percentage of those people will buy something from you in the future. And so, I mean, I've sold close to 10,000 books, and how many of those people already knew who I was and they were looking for the book because they saw it on YouTube or me pushing it somewhere else? Maybe half of them. Half of them discovered the book from Amazon.
Yeah.
Because it was, it showed up in the recommended feed. And so whether we like it or not, all these platforms are recommendation engines. YouTube is recommending your video to a new audience. Instagram is going to recommend content, if it's good, to people who want to watch that kind of content. Amazon is going to recommend books to people who are interested in that topic if they've purchased books before. So I think in terms of like when you should add in that book, it's not a solid answer of like, I have this many followers, now I should write a book.
Yeah.
If you feel that it will help you in your ascension ladder, if you want to write the book, if you feel it's worth your effort, if the ego drive is enough to be able to walk around and hand a physical book to people, right? All these different things are an important consideration. I will say, back to the authority thing, I mean, there's nothing like me turning up to an event and doing a book signing at a swimming competition. I actually launched one of my books at the Dubai Open, not the Dubai Open, the Emirates Cup. It was in Dubai. And so I literally showed up. I had a stack of my books. Everyone's coming. They're buying it on the spot. They're taking photos with me. I'm getting content from that book signing. And it's not even about the money that I made from that book. Like, I didn't make that much money. It probably costed more, I think, to ship the books, to get them to me. And I lost money on taking all the books. But in the long run, it's, with the Amazon recommendation algorithm and all that stuff, it makes sense. And for me, I'm really passionate about sharing information. So if I can have a business card that is my book and people can learn something from it, I'll continue to publish. And I have one in the works right now.
Good news. Okay. Faris, thank you so much for coming on. Very interesting to kind of see behind the curtain of kind of what's going on the traffic and the product side. So thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for having me, and I hope it was helpful for everyone.